Hey guys, thanks for joining me for this video. I had some questions about, I've showed multiple times how I do my makeup in different ways, and had some questions about, well, what exactly do you do before you put your makeup on? How do you kind of get your face ready to go for that? So, I'm just going to take you through it from scratch from the moment I would sit down at my, makeup area. Now I've already done this, but I will I of course wash my face in the bathroom, which you can kind of see back there behind me. But I wash my face, and then I always, whenever I sit down here, I notice when I'm getting a close-up look at my face, I can still sometimes see, even if I can't see it, a little residue from eye makeup there, and usually it's barely visible, but once you use some eye makeup remover, I use this gentle eye makeup remover from Rimmel. Once you stick a Q-tip in there and then run it around here, even if you can't see a lot, you'll be very surprised at what comes off even after you've washed your face. So just something to keep in mind there. Sometimes I also use the eye makeup remover when I'm washing my face the night before to remove the makeup, but I also think that those Olay Daily Facials wipes are very effective in removing any sort of makeup, whether it's like waterproof or long wearing or whatever. It works very well, but I mean, there are always those little places where maybe you didn't want to get the cloth right up next to your eye or whatever. So, so that's kind of the first thing I do when I sit down, is I make sure that all of that is completely off my face. So I'm starting with a fresh, clean palette, I guess you would say. And then I usually grab my tweezers, my little pink Tweezerman tweezers, and I go over my eyebrows, which I just did a moment ago to spare you guys the time and the boredom of watching. But just go over that. I do that on a daily basis just so nothing gets out of hand, and yeah, it does take an extra, sometimes 4 or 5 minutes or so, but it obviously won't require that for everyone, but I just like to really keep them neat and clean every day. And so then the next thing I would do is reach for my Clean & Clear Persa-Gel. And what this does, if I could describe this, this is like it's a 10% benzoyl peroxide spot acne treatment. And so what I see this really doing, if I put it on an area, and I've got a really annoying spot for a little, so I've got like one like right, it's not a cold sore or anything, but it's just like a little tiny zit right on the side of my lip here, almost on my lip. And I've got a little spot, let's see, where was that, on my nose, and I think that was maybe a little place up here. But what I see this doing is kind of just speeding up the process that zit would take. Sometimes it's there and then it kind of changes looks and forms, and this just kind of, I guess, speeds up the lifespan of the blemish that you have, and it really does, take it away a lot faster. It'll just, I'm really having a hard time describing this, but I just find that it really gets the blemish off my face in a speedier time than anything else I've tried. So that's the Clean & Clear Persa-Gel. So put that on, and then I've really gotten into using the Mary Kay, I guess it's called the Miracle set, and because I really like that it offers sunscreen. I like how the moisturizers work on my skin, and just works really good for me. It's really made my skin very, very smooth over time. And so I use their Day Solution, which is a SPF 25. So basically what you're putting on is a sunscreen. And yeah, I know it's winter, but you still want to keep your skin protected. And so this step, I just go over my whole face, just like that. And then after that, I would move on to putting on my moisturizer. So I use the kind for combination to oily skin. I'm still finding that works for me right now, but probably later on in the winter I've really noticed a change in my skin, and I may move to the other kind, which is normal to dry. So that's a nice option that Mary Kay gives you, kind of customizing it to whatever your skin type is. And while the normal to dry is an obvious cream, this kind that the oily combination that I just squirted on my finger, it looks creamy, but as you kind of spread it out and thin it out a little bit, it's kind of like like a gel almost. So I put that on everywhere. A particular dry area for me is right around my mouth. I notice I always get really dry there, and sometimes around my eyes, and your eyes are definitely an area you don't want to dry out. I would use an eye cream at night before going to bed, but I don't use that in the morning because it can be so heavily moisturizing, your eye makeup can slide right off. So I would recommend something like that for before bed. So just make sure your whole face is kind of gotten the moisturizer on it there. And then what I would do, the last step before I go ahead and start applying makeup, is applying a primer. And one that I really like is the Rimmel Fix and Perfect. It is just great in my opinion. It kind of has a peachy appearance to it, though it does kind of blend out to match any skin tone, and I like that a lot. However, I am almost out of this one, so I need to get some more. And something that I gotten a free sample of from Sephora is this Laura Geller Spackle Makeup Primer. It reminds me a lot of Smashbox Photo Finish, which I like as well, only this is just a tad bit thicker. Seems like it hangs together a little bit more, like when you put it on your face, you just feel like it's kind of there. Incredibly smooth. I really like this. So I'm going to go ahead, and since I just opened this, I'm going to finish up my sample of this, which is just kind of has that gel sort of appearance, if you can see that. And I'm just going to smooth this on all over. And yeah, it has a very smoothing consistency. I noticed that Smashbox Photo Finish, when you put it on your skin, it almost feels like it disappears immediately onto your skin. This is still, like, I still feel like a little bit of moisture with it, but in a moment here, as you rub it a little more, it just goes to smoothness, and I love that feeling. Really makes you feel like you're starting off with a fresh, smooth palette before your makeup. So, and this, I think you will notice the effects of maybe the wear of your makeup with a primer. Primers aren't absolutely necessary, but I do think they have a definite place for when you're using the mineral makeups, because sometimes those may not have quite the staying power of other kinds of makeup. So putting on maybe a primer would not be a bad idea. And like I said, I'm sure the Laura Geller, I'm not sure what the cost is on this, but obviously it's going to be more expensive than your Rimmel Fix and Perfect or your, and another higher end one is the Smashbox Photo Finish, which I have that as well here. So a couple of options there for you. This is obviously your drugstore option, which works just great. So anyway, that's pretty much my routine before I start doing my makeup. I hope this maybe answers some questions or gives you guys some ideas on, you know, what the steps sort of are that you go through before you actually put your makeup on. So thanks for watching.